Welcome to Stories and Songs by Afterglow Music. My name is Joel McCausland.
And I'm Kevin Peay, and we've been creating music for a long time.
We'd like to tell you the stories behind our songs. Kev, today I think we ought to talk about a song that is one of my favorites that you have ever written. It's called I Want to Feel. It's a long, old timer now, but man, the message of this one is just perfect.
Well, I appreciate that. I think we recorded this in London. It found its way on a More Perfect Light album, which now is on volume 4.
Here I am, caught up in the maze of this world I live in, wondering how to balance all the struggles within. I need to hear again to the voice within.
I've been thinking back to the time that would have been in the mid-'80s, somewhere in there, and really what was I thinking? You know, where was I at in my life at that point in time? Cindy and I were young parents, and I noticed, I'm thinking back to it, there was a rush of life that was happening because you were trying to figure out what were the steps to provide for a family and business or whatever it might have been. And I know that I think at that point in time I was still pitching baseball.
Lots to juggle, right? I mean, a lot of things going on in life, for sure.
and I shouldn't have been pitching baseball, but I just couldn't let it go for a while, and then eventually I had to. But there was just it was a wonderful time of life. But I noticed that the rush of life sometimes blocked the way I approached things in my life, and I wasn't probably feeling what I should be feeling in all aspects of my life.
I totally get that, Kev. I think back on that time, and there was so much going on, just so many demands, right, on your time. And you don't want to lose connection. You don't want to lose that feeling, the good things that come to us through the Spirit. But gosh, I can reflect on that myself in many times in my life. And, you know, it's actually, you'd think I'd learned the lesson, but I actually had this experience just a couple of weeks ago where, you know, I've been traveling, I've been doing some things, and even though a lot of the stuff we're involved in it's good stuff, you know, we're trying to do the best we can with life and serve and help and do what we can and be there for our kids and grandkids. But it occurred to me that it had been a while since I'd had something that really got into my heart, into my soul. And, you know, it's like we hear this all the time, but it's about what we're willing to give and put in, and what we're willing to make ourselves available to so that we can hear and feel and see those things in our lives. And man, I think that's an ongoing challenge for most of our lives.
Yeah, so as time marched on through that process early on, it was revelatory that there are things that come that almost force you to feel. And sometimes it can be hard stuff.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to approach within this song is actually be more reflective in regards to my approach to God and finding Him first, and all things will somewhat fall into place. They'll come together. And as our life, you know, moved along and we were going through the parenting and all things associated with it, lots of things were coming and going, and we were writing material, and we had a great opportunity to do a lot of firesides and a lot of wonderful things at that point in time. But there's just those certain moments when you have to really contemplate what it is that when you feel something, how do you create the change?
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that, but I finally found out over time that feeling, when you feel something, you have to move it forward with some type of an action, whether it's coming closer to God, praying more, reading more scriptures, so that it becomes a sustainable feeling.
Yeah.
In regards to that, I noticed just even the other day, sometimes my kids say, "You never cry." And I probably cry more in private than I do openly. I cried yesterday, for instance, when my little granddaughter hit her head and sliced it open.
Oh.
And off to primary children's we go.
Oh, wow.
And
she's okay?
She's okay, yeah. But sometimes these little children, when they're your own blood and your own family, you feel a lot through that process. And the innocence of that child, you know, brought me to tears yesterday just based upon what she was feeling as far as the pain was concerned. But it's interesting, the older I get, the more I'm starting to tenderize And that got me yesterday, specific to her situation. And when we find our children or our grandchildren or even a spouse or a family member that's struggling, those feelings come, and that creates an emotional movement within inside ourselves that can create a positive environment, but sometimes a very reflective environment. I noticed I was in a hospital room yesterday with a lady whose husband was before us, and he was on life support. And they had lived a long, healthy life. And a turn of events very quickly put him right into full-on respiratory and needing to be assisted. She wasn't ready for that. And as we had the opportunity to converse and spend some time together in that room, watching him and watching her, she made a very important discovery that I latched onto, and she said, I've never felt this way before in our entire marriage, based upon what I'm seeing before me now and what I need to feel moving forward, was her paraphrase.
Wow. Sometimes it is the hard, tragic, difficult moments that cause us to do that. And I've kind of joked sometimes in the past, wouldn't it be cool if you could see, like with your physical eyes, every message from God, every opportunity to feel the Spirit coming at you? Wouldn't that be cool if you could see it? And that's just not how it works, right? And for that reason, probably I've missed probably the majority of those messages in my life. But if we can take a minute and kind of quiet the noise a bit and be receptive and open to that, I thought, man, so many times when I'm just going on with life and I'm dealing with all this stuff that has to be dealt with, and something happens. It could just be a tiny little feeling, or it could be some little random thing that we might interpret as a coincidence under other circumstances.
Sure.
But in that moment, we say, oh, maybe I need to look at that. And you said this a minute ago, but I'm trying to learn that when I feel something like that, I should never ignore it. I should act on it as soon and as well as I can. And it's not perfect. Many times it's probably really imperfect, but I found so many times blessings that come for me, for sure, and sometimes even for others, when I say, I'm feeling something and I'm not quite sure what it is or why, but I feel like I could do something about it. And that almost always turns out better than sitting on it and wondering what it's all about, trying to figure it out. Just do something if we feel prompted to do it.
And I don't know where it came from. Well, I should give credit to where credit is due. I knew it. The inspiration comes from above, but the lyric line, I want to hear his voice in my heart. I want to be there when he comes. And really that started me on a journey with this particular song in regards to you have to go through steps of feeling and experiences in order to be somewhat prepared for when he does come. It's going to create a very focused, intense feeling when we are in his presence, when we are before him in whatever circumstance. We don't fully understand how that's all going to happen, but I want to hear his voice through this process so that when he does come, I want to feel and I want to be prepared for what is going to be there.
Somebody said this the other day, and I'm not sure if this is exactly accurate, but I think there were 5 talks in the most recent General Conference that cited the parable of the 10 virgins. I'm like, wait a minute, where's this all coming from? But we just hear over and over again the importance of personal spiritual preparation. And that parable was on a lot of people's minds when they prepared talks and messages for this conference. And I thought, yeah, the messages just keep coming, don't they? Whether it's from the prophet or somebody else in the leadership of the church, the elders of the Quorum of the 12 and others, they are sharing this and feeling this and sensing an urgency that maybe is greater now than it's ever been.
Well, maybe this was an early attempt to provide something that might help somebody. It did help me.
It's got such a great feel and such a great message. It really, when I hear the chorus of this song, it lifts me up. It's a great message.
Maybe we can play it now and somebody will feel what I feel and what I felt and what I continue to feel.
caught up in the maze of this world I live in, wondering how to balance all the struggles within. I need to hear again to the voice within. On my own, I struggle with the answers to the questions I've known, and every time I try to find it out all alone, I feel the need to know where the answers are. I wanna feel, I wanna hear his voice in my heart. I want the straightest course I can be on. I wanna be there when he comes. In my heart, I know from where all blessings come, I know where they start. And every time I hear the perfect words from above, I always feel the love as I'm listening. And I know if only I will follow as I travel this road to the one who gives the answers and the one who knows all, I know I'll never fall as I'm following. I wanna feel, I wanna hear his voice in my heart. I want the straightest course I can be on. I wanna be there when he comes. I wanna feel, I wanna hear his voice in my heart. I want the straightest course I can be on. I wanna be there when he comes. I wanna feel, I wanna hear his voice in my heart. I want the straightest course I can be on. I wanna be there when he comes. I wanna feel, I wanna hear his voice in my heart. I want the straightest course I can be on. I wanna be there when he comes. I want